Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 2022 meeting of ANC 2C. I cannot believe we are at the end of 2022 and the end of this ANC session as a whole. So welcome to tonight's meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order. The current time is 6:04 p.m. And we have two commissioners present. I'd like to introduce Commissioner Gigi Nelson from 2C03. Commissioner Nelson, this will be her last meeting with us. Boo-hoo-hoo. But we want to make sure that we are able to extend our well wishes to her. She's not going far. She's going down the street. We'll bother her repeatedly as the year goes on. Again, I'm Michael Schenkel.
He said he was going to be there that night.
Again, I'm Michael Schenkel, chair of ANC 2C and SMD 2C01. I would like to quickly review tonight's agenda with us. I believe that's showing. Is that showing on your screens?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. Okay. Sharing is paused. Okay, I've never had that happen. Well, that's bizarre. Let's try that one more time. Share.
It says you've started sharing your screen.
Okay. Well, I will review this in case folks can't see it. I never had that happen before. Don't know why. Okay. Tonight's meeting, we will approve the November 2022 minutes, which I just received a little while ago, that I just discovered in my mailbox a little while ago. I don't know if Commissioner Gigi had the opportunity to review those or not. We will have our treasurer's report and review and approve the FY23 budget. We will have an ATM policy that we will review and approve for the ANC. We will also schedule the first meeting of 2023 with the hopes that we will maintain the second Tuesday of each month through 2023. We will start off with community announcements, hearing from the mayor's office, from Ward 2 Council Member Brooke Pinto's office. We will invite MPD 1 and MPD 2 to participate in tonight's meeting as well, and also hear from the office of Chairman Phil Mendelson. We're actually going to move this up a little bit because Mr. Falls has to attend another ANC meeting at 6:30. We have two ABRA licenses that are on the docket this evening. One is for JJS LLC, doing businesses as Free State, and the Bazaar by Jose Andreas. We also have three items related to historic preservation and zoning. One is the 600 I Street location. The other is related to 616 E Street and 631 D Street, related to the installation of solar canopy, requesting a variance, and then a modification related to 1425 New York Avenue as well. Is there any other items for business tonight for us, or any corrections to the agenda?
I don't have any.
Then I would like to move that we approve the agenda as stated.
Second.
And all those in favor? So 2 of 2 commissioners voting in favor of that. Commissioner Nelson, did you have an opportunity to look at the November 2022 minutes?
Yes, it's a good thing I read really fast. Yes,
Do you have any corrections or additions to those minutes?
no,
Okay, I do not either. Thank you for that. I would like to suggest that I would like to move that we approve the November 2022 ANC minutes.
second.
And all those in favor? So 2 of 2 commissioners voting in favor of that. We'll now have the treasurer's report.
Okay, so this is the treasurer's report for November. The opening balance was $68,084.76. There was one transaction, a check in the amount of $625 for the minutes, and that brought our closing balance to $67,459.76.
All right.
And that's it.
Thank you. And would you like to review the FY23 budget?
Sure. Okay. So it's going to be essentially the same categories as the FY22 budget. We did allot we allotted $3,000 for communication. That includes everything from, we're looking to hopefully update the website this year. It's sort of been something that's been on the agenda for a while now. So hopefully 2023 will be the year that it happens. We also still have the allotted 10,000 for grants, given, COVID and everything else. Hopefully that program will get started this coming up year as well. The purchase of service is going to be $9,000. And that will be essentially for minutes and admin services, and then $200 for bank charges, and then $300 for other sort of miscellaneous expenses. So for a total disbursement in 2023 fiscal year of $22,500.
Awesome. I have no questions related to the budget. Is there any community questions or concerns related to the budget? And Commissioner Nelson, I know that we talked about this briefly. Did our allotment increase?
It did. It's currently about 1,800. It increases to a little over 2,000. So about a $250 increase per quarter.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to move that we approve the FY23 budget.
Second.
And all those in favor? So 2 of 2 commissioners voting in favor of that. That motion passes. So thank you, Commissioner Nelson. And do you want to discuss the ATM policy?
Sure. I'm laughing because I read it when it first came out and I have not looked at it since, but essentially what it is for those of you who aren't aware, the ANC has never ever been sort of legally able to have a debit card. No ANC, not just ours, but ANCs across the city. Debit cards were just not allowed for whatever reason. And so, but there's been a concerted push for many years. And finally, as of this year, it's on the table for this coming up year. So all ANCs have to vote to approve the use of a debit card. And I can tell you as treasurer, having to write checks in 2022 it feels really strange. And it just made it that much more difficult to get things done for the ANC. So we are definitely in favor of having ANC 2C have a debit card.
Got it. And as part of that, there are a number of rules associated with that. The debit card must be issued in the name of the Community Advisory Commission to see any transactions that will be paid by debit card must be approved at a public meeting, as we are this evening. The public record must reflect the name of the vendor, the amount of the transaction and the purpose of the transaction that will be paid via the debit card. The debit card transaction must be maintained in the transaction must be maintained in the check register and reported in the monthly treasurer's report and quarterly financial report. All the receipts must be retained and maintained for all those purchases. The debit card remains in the possession of the treasurer, consistent with the ANC checkbook. The treasurer is responsible for securing the debit card in the same manner as a checkbook. ANCs are prohibited, from making cash withdrawals by debit card for any purpose. ANCs are prohibited from using debit card to conduct transactions such as Cash App, Zelle, Venmo, Google Pay, Apple Pay, or any other third-party payment program. However, PayPal is an acceptable format. ANCs are prohibited from making any purchases with the debit cards for personal purposes or for other commissioners' personal purposes. And the ANC debit card may be used for web-based businesses, such as securing our domain names, things like that, paying payroll taxes, purchasing WMATA cards if the ANC approves that and uses that for business purposes only, securing a post office box for supplies and equipment, such as and cell phones and business communications. It may not be used to pay for independent contractors, and it must be reported lost or stolen within 48 hours to the office of ANC and canceled with the bank. The ANC, the office of the ANC will withhold an allotment when these guidelines are not followed. So I'm just noting that in the record for us this evening. Commissioner Nelson, would you like to move that we approve that?
Sure. I move that we approve the use of an ATM debit card for the ANC.
I will second that and say hallelujah.
All in favor?
All in favor, two commissioners voting in favor of that. Thank you very much for that. We typically have the ANC meetings or hold the ANC meetings on the second Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m. The current schedule and the current legislation allows ANCs to continue to operate in a virtual format, which we find very successful and very positive for community participation. I'll just put this up on the screen, or try to put this up on the screen. Let's see what happens here. Boom. Share. Oh, it's not going to share tonight. I don't know why. I'm having issues with this.
Do you want me to see if I can?
Sure, you're welcome to try.
First, you have to give me control of the screen, I think.
Oh, I didn't do that. Okay, sorry about that. I thought you had.
You may have. I think I see it now. Okay, let me pull this up because I didn't have it. I printed it out instead of.
Sure.
Give me 1 second.
I went through and I calculated that none of these dates conflicted with any kind of a holiday schedule, a time in which DC government is closed. So I would like to initially approve this meeting schedule for 2023, granted that the new commissioners, as they enter, may object to one or more of these dates for various reasons. But I would like to set the January meeting for Tuesday, January 10th, 2023 at 6 p.m.
Did you still want to have, and I know that this might change with the new commissioners coming in, but for today, did you still want to have an August meeting or that's just still up for debate?
I think it would still be up for debate, and we can let the new commissioners, once they enter, make that determination.
Okay.
But we'll schedule it as if it was the second Tuesday of August.
Okay.
I'd like to move that we approve the 2023 meeting schedule as published in the agenda.
A second.
All those in favor? So 2 of 2 commissioners voting in favor of that. Thank you very much. So we'll move on to community announcements this evening. And I see we have Ward 2 Mayor's Liaison, Julius Terry, on with us. Hey, Julius.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Shankel? Good afternoon,
very
everyone.
well.
So I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I have 3 announcements. On Thursday, December 15th at 12 p.m., the mayor would love for you to join her and the deputy mayor for planning and economic development to celebrate the conversion of the Vanguard building into the Ellie Apartments located at 111 20th Street Northwest. I'm putting the link of the Eventbrite for those that might be interested in hearing what the future may bring for housing in downtown. This is the first building that has been renovated. My next announcement is going to be the announcement for, give me 1 second, on Wednesday, tomorrow, given that Morocco is the first the first African team to make the FIFA World Cup semifinals. Event DC is throwing a free watch party in downtown DC on Wednesday. RSVP and take the metro. I'm also putting that link as well into the chats. And I also would like to let everyone know, for those that are having missed leaf collections or having issues with getting their leaves picked up, please try to remember DPW will only pick up leaves that are at the curb or in the tree box, whether they're in paper bags or just in the piles. They will get them up. For anybody that would like to report a missed appointment, please go to www.311.dc.gov and click on missed leaf collection. Other than that, thank you guys.
Awesome. And I see that the Morocco versus France watch party is at Tom's Watch Bar in Chinatown, which is a new establishment that just opened in the Chinatown on 7th Street.
Yes,
So
sir.
terrific. Awesome. Are there any questions for the mayor's office? Okay. I have no questions, but thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And providing your update this evening.
Thank you for having
me. If I could ask our dear friends from Brooke Pento's office, if you could allow Declan Falls to go first with us this evening, because he has to jump, and I know you probably do too. You're probably like all scheduled. So, but Declan, we'll have you jump in there a second.
Sure. Thanks so much, commissioners and community members, and Brian for letting me skip you in line. And happy holiday season to everyone. For those I haven't met yet, my name is Declan, and I work in Chairman Mendelson's office as a part of his constituent services team. For those who don't have it, I'll put all of my contact info in the chat as soon as I'm done. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or comments for the chairman. I'm happy to pass those on. Or if there's something our constituent services team can help with, I'm happy to get that to the right person. Just a couple of updates. The council is finishing up its legislative session for the year. And last Tuesday, there was a packed legislative meeting with 54 bills on the agenda. Among them, just a couple to name. There was a vote on the Safe Streets for Students Act, approved unanimously. This would create an office of safe passage under the mayor.
Forget it.
This would create an office of safe passage under the mayor to develop strategies for safe passage around schools. There was also a vote on Metro for DC that was approved unanimously to make Metrobus free in DC, create overnight service for 12 busy bus lines, and more. And there was a vote on the chairman's Schools First in Budgeting Act that passed. This bill would basically use current year funding as a baseline for next year so that schools are less likely to lose money year to year. Those are just three of the bills in a very packed agenda at last week's meeting. To learn more about the chairman's past hearings or past legislative meetings, or to sign up to testify at future hearings, you can visit the chairman's website at chairmanmendelson.com. I think that's all I have for the moment. But again, thank you so much for having me. And if there are any questions or comments, I'm happy to take them.
Are there any, Commissioner Nelson? I'm not following my own rules this evening. I apologize. Commissioner
That's
Nelson,
okay.
do you have anything for Declan?
I don't. Thank you, Declan.
Of course.
Thank you so much. Declan, I realize that I have missed an email from you from a hot minute ago regarding the former Pat Handy site that I do want to follow up with you regarding your questions to me regarding that. And I apologize that I had missed that in my email there.
No problem.
Okay, so I will get back to you on that. Any community questions for the chairman's office? All right, thank you so much, Declan. Appreciate you. All right, we have with us Victoria and Brian from Councilmember Pinto's office. So I'm not sure if one of you want to say anything? Do anything?
Yes.
Who's going to do it?
So wonderful to be with you all again tonight. I'll give you guys a more robust update tonight. And Brian is also here to help answer any questions. So we'll just jump right on in. So thank you, Declan, for joining tonight to give us some nice updates, especially on the headline grabbing bills from the legislative session. It was a very big day, if some of you may know. So I'll go into some other exciting bills that we had. The Councilmember Pinto's bill, the BEST Act, which simplifies the business licensing process by reducing licensing categories from over 100 to just 11, and by reducing licensing fees across the board, passed unanimously on last Tuesday, which we're thrilled about. There was also an emergency bill to reshape the DC Housing Authority, which the councilmember planned to vote against, but this was withdrawn by the chairman. Councilmember Pinto believes reforms should go through the hearing process and also include community input, especially from people with lived experiences as DCHA tenants. So I'll post a link to her statement on this in the chat. Maybe Brian can help me out with this. Additionally, Councilmember Pinto's bill, the Recovery Act, which will be critical for ANC 2C, had its first hearing last month in November. This bill is an economic recovery package aimed at revitalizing our downtown, including by incentivizing office to housing conversions. This bill will likely be marked up and reintroduced next year in the new council period, and we'll hopefully have a vote on that shortly after. If you have ideas for fiscal year 2024 budget, we'll be announcing our Ward 2 budget forums in the very near future. So please start thinking about your ideas. We want to hear from you. So please reach out whenever you do have those ideas, and we'll be in touch as soon as those dates are set. Next up, we wanted to provide a more robust Pat Handy update. I know this has been something front of mind for a lot of residents and neighbors in 2C. So to begin, Councilmember Pinto recently met with Mayor Bowser and her executive leadership team to discuss the importance of urgent and immediate supports and interventions for the Pat Handy shelter. The city administrator confirmed that their request to provide additional security around the site. Additionally, to address concerns around trash, DGS's contractor has scheduled service for trash pickup Monday through Saturday. DPW has also assigned a sweep inspector, which monitors the area weekly to help coordinate DGS maintenance. All of these changed services with trash pickup have been maintained consistently since October. Of course, if you notice that this isn't the case, we do invite you to let us know so that we can let the appropriate agency know. DHS and DGS have also confirmed that the transition for men currently at the Pat Handy Legacy site will begin no earlier than the end of hypothermia season in 2023, which is also April 15th, due to delays with renovations at the Emory shelter where folks would be transferred. Our team will continue to keep you apprised of all of the updates we receive, and we're also going to continue to push DGS, DHS, and the executive to prioritize the transition of men to another site while maintaining healthy and safe conditions at the current Pat Handy site. We'll, again, just keep you guys as updated as we can. We know that this is a really important issue. Next up, we're going to address some public safety issues in the area. We know that it is also a top priority for many of our neighbors, and so we're continuing to work towards this by every means possible. Last week, Councilmember Pinto led MPD's community patrol unit on bike around what challenges they're facing around work. We will continue to work to make sure our officers are patrolling on foot and on bike, and to make sure that they have the resources and support they need to address the very serious challenges we do see around Chinatown. She also joined an MPD bike patrol through the 1st Division, which covers the park at 5th and I Street, Gallery Place in the Metro, and Capital One Arena. And there she and the officers discussed how the presence of officers can help to alleviate violence and incidents of crime. So we're looking forward to our continued partnership with MPD to improve public safety through updates and also partnership. And our last set of updates, Councilmember Pinto has been thrilled to join residents in the downtown community over the last couple of weeks. So at the end of November, she joined downtown for the lighting of the magnificent city center tree, which was a very festive affair with lots of holiday carols and some swirling snow, which was very fun. And last night, she also attended the opening of the Museum of Illusions at 9th and H in City Center, which had a bunch of fantastic displays and had a wonderful time. So we certainly recommend you check this out. We want to encourage everyone to shop local this holiday season. And obviously the holiday market is a really great spot to find goodies for all of your loved ones. And then to wrap this up, we want to thank all of the commissioners who served this term and will not be returning. So specifically, thank you to Commissioner Nelson and to former Commissioner Miskey. We really do know how much work, time, stress this position entails, and your neighbors are very lucky that you are the ones to serve them. We look forward to working with Commissioner Schenkel and the other new TUC commissioners in the new year. And that's it for me, and we'll welcome your questions.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Really appreciate that. And stress could be a good word to describe some of the, as Brian knows from experience, the situations. I was just thinking as I was looking, I'm going to, for those of you who are on the ANC listserv, if you're not, please put your email in the chat and I'll be sure to add you. Councilmember Pinto did provide a letter that I'm happy to distribute to you that kind of outlines a lot of the points that Victoria talked about today. I'm wondering if there is, has there been any discussion of putting besides having a mobile behavioral health team, in place, but finding one of those vacant storefronts that we currently have and putting like some social service teams in there to be in the community to help with some of these issues that we're seeing. I don't know if that's been discussed, but as I was reading through this, it just kind of occurred to me, like, why do we have these mobile units when we could have a storefront or something?
Yeah, I don't think that's been discussed, but I like the sound of it. It sounds kind of similar to the COVID center, which I love the COVID center that we have downtown as well. So something, like you said, more focused on social services. So I'll definitely tell the council member about that and see if she can talk to the mayor's office. Julius can take that down too.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just kind of thinking. I know that we had the police division that was there on H Street for a while. I don't know if they still occupy that space or not, but that could be a potential space for people to actually be embedded there, that they don't have to leave the community. Okay. Thank you for the thorough update on all these issues, and I do greatly appreciate the council member working on the Pat Handy shelter and the ongoing violence that we have been seeing, not only in 2C01, but 2C, I'm sorry, but across the city. So that's really an important piece for this. Commissioner Nelson, do you have any questions for the council member or the council member's office?
I don't. Thank you both. I appreciate it.
We have a couple of hands up, so I'm going to go in the order that they appear on my screen. So we'll start with Barb.
Okay. So I guess it's maybe 2 months ago, Chairman Mendelson came to this meeting. To his credit, I didn't like anything he said, but to his credit, he faced us knowing we were going to talk about music amplification. The legislation that is basically dead, has never had a hearing, extremely weak legislation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he listened and he responded to me in particular. And I have to tell you that several times he said, what is Brooke Pinto doing with this? Have you talked to her? What is going on there? So here we go with the volleyball, right? And of course, we had no response. There is nothing that we've heard or know. You've given an update, which included some of the things discussed at that meeting. You did not give an update on this. And so I would like to hear an update on that. Oops. But also, I would like to see Brooke Pinto here, just as he appeared, being willing to talk to the constituents about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb, and I appreciate you saying all of that. Councilmember Pinto will be joining all of the ANC meetings in the new year when the new commission takes over. So you should be seeing her, if not in January, because I know there's some organizational things that ANCs usually do at that meeting. Then in February, she always likes to join right at the start of the year to give an update on everything that's going on and take any questions. So keep an eye on the agenda upcoming meeting.
Which button was it?
For her to join. And then in terms of the Amplified Noise Amendment Act, in the letter that Commissioner Schenkel is going to share via email from the council member, she does mention this. So, and she says that she shares her frustration that these bills did not receive a hearing this council period. I can tell you the votes are not there at the moment for it to pass. And so that is the challenge that she's facing. She is planning to reintroduce it in the new legislative period. And is working with different stakeholders to try to find ways to actually get support for the bill, besides just from her and the chairman and a few other council members. And so that's why I think we've encouraged you in the past to reach out to your at-large council members about this as well. You've got 5, including the chairman, but she can't do anything alone. And she, as much as she might have tried to get the Amplified Noise Amendment Act passed so far, it just still doesn't have the support that it needs. So again, I know we're meeting with, various different stakeholders like musicians and other sort of folks to say, like, how can we get you on board with this legislation? Groups that might naturally be opposed to it. And so our goal is to do whatever we can in the new year and new council period to move it forward. And she did say also that she'll be chairing a committee come January. So as you know, she's still considered a freshman right now, but in a month she won't be anymore. And so she will have a committee. We don't know what committee yet. We'll find that out next week, I think, from the chairman. But once she has a committee, it's a lot easier for her to move bills through her committee, if it's germane, but hopefully it will be to whatever committee that she is assigned to.
Brian, is it possible that I'm sure it's possible. I know that Barb and several people on this on the Zoom tonight had worked on various pieces of legislation over the years, or suggestions for pieces of this. Would it be advantageous for this group to get together with Councilmember Pinto and really walk through what we believe will work and what will not work in this? We kind of know some of the triggers of opposing groups and things like that, and I'm just wondering if that would be something that would be advantageous.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, because I think, again, if we can strategize a little bit, I know we're in a public meeting, but I think we should strategize about the best way to move it forward.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good idea.
Because I think
I'll also mention that reaching out to the at-large council members is also extremely helpful, because without their support, we need their support in order to help move this forward. So that's another really great avenue of communication.
But can I say we've done this repeatedly and a lot? Like, so is Councilmember Pinto reaching out to her colleagues? Because we visit them, but they're like, we're not in their ward.
Yes, she is, and I will be honest. I think a few of them don't want to touch noise issues, and they've told her that. So, and I understand, as you know, as the commissioner just said, we know what triggers certain people, so or certain groups. So I think if we just figure out our way to navigate that together, then hopefully we can move it forward.
Thank you. Next up, we have Suzanne.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I'd like to take us back to the Pat Handy discussion for a second. I appreciate the update from Brooke Pinto's office. I was sitting here trying to think, Michael, how long this merry band of residents has been battling this issue. And I think we're coming up on 2 years, right, where we've been dealing with this. And leading up to the meeting with the mayor's office and trying to get responses from DHS, what I'm trying to say is I've got significant trust issues about the plan being now mid-April. We've been told that, I believe now, twice before, literally April, and then it was going to be August, and then it was going to be September, and I can't even tell you what year that was supposed to be at. So I think now that we have finally gotten some engagement on this, I would like to see if we could have a detailed monthly update at our future ANC meetings on exactly the progress happening with both shelters, the one they're renovating and the one that the Pat Handy shelter. In terms of, for Pat Handy, the security, the sweeps that's going on, I'd like to see an update on that. And I'd like to really get a monthly update on the plan to move, because I think that we have been not, I think that enough attention was not put on this early on by leadership. And a couple months ago, I believe I literally said that leadership at all levels have failed us. I'm hoping that's turned around, but I have trust issues, so I'd like to have a monthly update if that's possible.
Thanks, Suzanne. Oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, I also have trust issues. When I search my email inbox just for Pat Handy alone, I see emails that say this will be moved by January 2021. This will be moved by whatever day. And the date just kept getting pushed. So I think we share that frustration. So I think, yeah, we can ask them for monthly updates. I don't know if they'll do that, but we can certainly push for it. And if not monthly, then at least like, bi-monthly or some time period that's more than just every 6 months, because clearly after 6 months, things seem to happen and we get an explanation that we're not prepared for, or not happy to hear about, I should say. So I think that's a good idea. In terms of, yeah, and I think maybe DHS should be the one providing us that. So we'll see. But I'll certainly ask for that from DHS. And especially at least an update, in March at the latest. Like, we shouldn't be waiting until April to find out that things are delayed again.
Well, I'm even questioning, frankly, the April date, and I'll tell you why. At our last ANC meeting, our captain from MPD 1D thought he had heard that it was going to be about a year from whenever he made that statement. So already in my mind, I'm questioning if April is real. So I think it shouldn't be as long as until March for us to get an update, with all due respect. I mean, I feel like we've been jerked around now for 2 years on this, and that's not directed at you. It's directed at people in positions that can make a difference.
I understand. Okay, we'll ask for monthly updates, and we'll let you know what they say, and we'll push back on them if they say no.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, Suzanne, because I was, as Victoria was giving the update, I was looking at my email, thinking back, how long has this been going on? Because, with COVID, there's a gap that happens in everyone's mind, right? Like, oh, was that just last year, or was that? But really, I think that this has been definitely an ongoing issue with moving it. I kind of chuckled when I heard April 15th, but it is. Let's hope that it moves this time. So, but I don't think I will ever believe DHS again when they said this will just be a temporary move, that folks will be on 11th Street for 9 months or less. So, yeah. And
I think too, with the pandemic, we were all very gracious, saying, okay, we know it's a hard time, a difficult time for the entire world, and especially for people that are unhoused. And I think that our graciousness is running out.
Yes. Thank you very much for that. We will follow up on that and make sure that happens. Next up, I have Nancy. Hi, Nancy.
Hi. I'm not sure if Councilmember Pinto's office is the right folk to pose my question and concern, but since all of this about DHS and shelters, it's germane to that. I'm very concerned about the building at 1339 Green Court Northwest. If you're not aware, the Balance Gym used to have two facilities. One fronts on 14th Street, and the other is at the junction of two alleys right near the Green Lantern. I live in the residences at Thomas Circle at 1330 Massachusetts, which is on obviously the Massachusetts Avenue side of the block. But that alley is, I can literally see it out my window right now. We are a seniors community, and we were very negatively impacted by the encampment on the overpass over Massachusetts Avenue that went on all of last winter and spring, culminating in a murder by two residents who were running a criminal enterprise. We were not so much concerned about it as an encampment as about the criminal nature of the activity that was exploiting a very great business block for selling drugs and trafficking people and a lot of other things that ended up in our alley, that's a long and awful story. Fast forward to November 2nd and 3rd, we've continued to have some activity in our alley even after the encampment was cleared. But the building at 1339 Green Court was broken into in the middle of the night, and a several-hour standoff with both MPD and Secret Service, huge Secret Service contingent responded. Gunfire Thankfully, no one was hurt, and the 2 persons inside did eventually surrender. But in the course of that, MPD told our building director that the city now owns that building and plans to make it a women's shelter, which was news to us. Why was our own corporate owner not notified? Why did we not know this? So I found the purchase contract. The city paid $11 million for that property in March, and it's been turned over to DHS for housing, but it doesn't specify. Why is this process so opaque? Why are people who are literally contiguous to this building not being notified? How can we publicly comment? How can we work together to have a constructive use of this building, which is landlocked in 2 alleys? I don't even really know where to start.
Thanks, Nancy. And I remember that standoff in the helicopters was quite the mess. But I did recently.
There have been subsequent break-ins in that building even after that standoff. So the city has not even secured their own building. They're literally climbing up a chain link fence on our property to access the building from the 2nd floor.
Thank you. I'll follow up with them again. I previously emailed other folks in the city government about making sure the building's secure, boarded up, or not accessible in some way. Obviously, if people are breaking in, that's a little bit difficult to stop, but they should still have security patrolling if it's their property. But anyway, the Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, who you're all probably familiar with, Deputy Mayor Turnage, he did tell us that the goal of his office is to use the property for emergency shelter. He said that DHS is presently working on proposals around the nature and scope of the programs that they're going to have and what the impact that would be to the district's budget. They did not announce any sort of community input or engagement yet. And so obviously we pushed back and said, okay, you need to do that. And so they said that they will be doing that soon. They gave no timeline for it yet. So we're going to have to push them.
Proposals by whom? By potential vendors who would operate the shelter?
No, the proposals that the Department of Human Services would propose. So, like, there's obviously different shelters. So like you said, it could be a women's shelter, but they haven't told us one way or another what kind of shelter or what services would be provided there. So I think that's obviously something we need to find out. But
as a seniors community, we have a lot of very vulnerable people. Mm-hmm. We are mostly independent living, but we have a memory care unit that's on the 2nd floor right above the alley, and an assisted living unit. We have a lot of people who are very vulnerable. We're not at all opposed to it being a shelter, and in many ways it's an ideal site for people to access other services and transportation and jobs and everything else. We love this location, but we just need to, first of all, get them to actually secure the building so that it's not a target, a known hidey hole. But going forward, we want to be part of the planning and just common sense solutions to what literally abuts our building.
Certainly. Yeah, no, I hear you there. And I know you also have been very gracious, is the word I'm using tonight, with what happened at Thomas Circle over the course of the last year or so, 2 years there. So yes, we will. Okay, so we'll certainly push DHS to let us all know the plans so that we can share with you, but also to hold community meetings about this so we can actually have some input, or maybe they come to an ANC meeting. That's, I think, ideal for ANC to see come January or February, whenever they are ready to meet you. But we will certainly ask them to do that.
Yes,
and to secure the building.
Yeah.
How can I follow up other than obviously coming to this ANC meeting every month now until this is?
I'll post my email in the chat too, so you have that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for bringing this to our attention. This is outside of our ANC currently, but it will become part of ANC 2C come January. So we will start also advocating for things to happen regarding that, because that is truly a concern. And I will make sure that you get my contact as well as we kind of move forward with this. What usually happens is what happened at when the DHS moved the Pat Handy shelter is that there was a public announcement that was distributed, providing notice that this was happening. I have not seen anything like that, and I don't think Councilmember Pinto's office has seen that yet. So I'll follow up with you and make sure that we see what's happening there. But thank you for that.
Yes, thank you. I have been in contact with our new commissioner who actually lives at the other end of the block.
Great.
So once she's sworn into office in January, hopefully that will be more points of contact for monitoring the situation.
Yes, absolutely. That's great. Thank you. Thomas will be our last question.
Yes, thank you. I have two quick questions. Councilwoman Pinto, in the last several weeks ago during the discussion and passage of the Criminal Reform Act bill, had a very reasonable proposal on gun rules, gun reform. Why did it fail? So that's number one. And number two, I was recently walking through Chinatown and along H Street, and there's a lot of brick pavers that are loose and just lying around in piles. And there's a lot. Well, there's a lot of people that use that street because it's a major transportation thoroughfare, but also it's very congested and a lot of people. So there were some people in wheelchairs, and it was quite a mess trying to get around. Is there anything that the councilwoman can do to help us with fixing those sidewalks?
Yes. So sidewalk question, definitely. Do you have my email from the chat?
Yes.
For the echo.
Yes, I see it.
Okay, yeah. If you email me specific locations, it always helps to go to. Sorry, I don't know if I'm echoing. But sometimes if you put, I mean, you can submit the remote request for them on your own, but I'm also happy to do that and escalate it with DDOT. I'll just warn you, sidewalk requests can take a really long time. It's not one of DDOT's specialties. Potholes right now, they'll fill them in about 3 days or less. Sidewalks, it's about a year. So unless it's an emergency situation, which there are a lot of those where like there's a sinkhole or bricks completely missing, which don't get me started. There's a spot in Chinatown that I've been trying to get fixed for a long time, Commissioner Schenkel. But we can certainly, the earlier we start giving them a paper trail of here's the sidewalk that needs to be fixed, the better. And especially if we can say it stops somebody from being able to get by in a motorized chair or something, scooter, they'll pay more attention to it, hopefully. So send me those. And then the revised criminal code amendment, off the top of my head, I can't tell you exactly why it failed. Yeah, the amendment, as you said, was supposed to give judges discretion to impose higher sentences when they thought that the circumstances dictated that. I think some of the council members' colleagues did not want to make any amendments whatsoever to the revised criminal code reform because it had been decades in the making and was a very, very large undertaking, and they were worried that one amendment would open it to many amendments. It doesn't completely make sense to me because it's like, okay, why then they could have still voted for it if they thought it was a good amendment. But I think a lot of them thought that the sentences as they are revised were high enough and that you don't need to allow judges to go even higher. We didn't agree with that, obviously, but I think that's the way that some of her colleagues felt.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Thomas, I did, just to let you know, I did report missing bricks to the bid who takes care of some of the sidewalks around Chinatown. On H Street, especially around the archway area, that's where I noticed them. I actually moved a couple out of the way that were kind of sitting in the middle of the sidewalk. that were just sitting up on top other bricks. Yes, that is an ongoing issue.
Yeah, and I always worry that, so if you do see a loose brick, sometimes it is better to move it out of the way. I'm always worried they'll be going through windshields or car windows, so.
Yes, that's my thought as
big
well.
concern, yeah.
Yeah, very much so. But with everyone on the call, if you, I know I hate to say, use the motto, if you see something, say something kind of motto, but reporting it to 311 is really the best way to alert the city and the various agencies that there is an issue that is happening.
And the revised criminal code, by the way, I did just double check. One of her colleagues had said sentencing has little to no deterrent effect. So I think there was a debate around do higher sentences deter crime, and her colleagues didn't think so.
Got it. Thank you for that. Thank you, guys. We appreciate all your insights this evening. And thank you. I don't believe Captain Roth is on. I got an email from him a little bit ago that he was called out he's on watch duty this evening. He was called out of the office and not able to participate. I do not believe there's anybody from MPD 1 on. Anybody from MPD 2?
Lieutenant Thomas.
Hey, how are you?
We're hanging in there. You know, the African Summit is in town and everybody's working 12-hour shifts. So people are probably really exhausted at this point.
Yeah.
But doing good, thank you. How about everybody else?
Very well, thank you.
Good, good. Well, I'll be really brief. I don't have a lot to report, but I do represent PSA 209 in Sector 3. And of note, the violent crimes have trended downward, which is a great thing. But the unfortunate thing to report is the fact that our property crimes are trending upward significantly. That's not something that's uncommon during this time of year, but we had 16 burglaries, 100 thefts from auto. And that is really, really a sticking point for us. Again, we're working with community stakeholders, businesses, community outreach, homeless outreach, where our homeless people experiencing homelessness are driving some of our crime trends. So we're just really trying to get the word out for people to make sure that they don't leave valuables in their car, they leave or in sight, that they leave things not unattended, make sure that they're locked, kind of helping us help them, so to speak. The outreach coordinator for the homeless, people experiencing homelessness, she is absolutely fantastic. She works with CIO, crisis intervention officers, because oftentimes we have people who are unfortunately experiencing mental health crises and things of that nature. So before a thing becomes a thing, she usually can swoop in and kind of quell a situation before it gets out of hand. What we've been doing is reallocating resources. And what that means is that we have increased foot patrol. We have people who are fanning out in the city center area on foot for high visibility, because it's one thing to be in a scout car, but it's another to be able to be up close and personal with people, interacting and letting people know that not only do you care, but you're there and that you're vigilant. Additionally, the segways, motorbikes, every means of transportation afforded to us, we have deployed, to include the light tower. We know that around this time, unfortunately, a lot of robberies can occur, thefts, break-ins, things of that nature. So we're just trying to make sure that we have all hands on deck to ensure everybody has a happy and safe holiday. Not just a holiday, but always, but we've really had to ramp up our efforts during this time. And that's pretty much all that I have, unless someone has a question.
No, thank you so very much for that. And the unfortunate incident with at the metro station that happened last week has that kind of been investigated and all resolved at this point?
I can say this much, the community is safe regarding that situation. The perpetrator, unfortunately, lost his life during that time, but that was an isolated incident. We're working with Metro Police and other entities to make sure that people are safe, because right after that, there was another shooting. I believe it wasn't in our district, but people want to feel safe in whatever mode of transportation they choose, be it foot, metro, the rail system. So we're all trying to work together to make sure we're highly vigilant. Cameras, because I mean, that happened, and people are just trying to get home. So we want to make sure that we don't have people in unfortunate situations where things like that occur. And that was very unfortunate. But again, that is over. The community is safe, and it's pretty much a closed case.
Got it. Thank you for that very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Commissioner Nelson, do you have any questions?
I don't. Thank you. Is it Sergeant Thomas? Sorry.
No, it's
or
okay.
Captain
Lieutenant
Thomas.
I'm Lieutenant
Okay.
Thomas.
Lieutenant Thomas. One of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I was just talking about you last evening with my new building manager downtown, who says that you guys are very much friends.
Yes, we are. Because I tell you what, as far as the retail establishments are concerned, we have a lot of officers who are doing part-time in those facilities. I'm sorry, in those businesses. And the good thing about that, it's one thing to have a SPO, which is a special police officer, but unfortunately, sometimes the community, they're not necessarily deterred by SPO presence as opposed to an MPD presence. And then of course we can radio people and get them really quickly dispatched and whatnot. So yeah, we try to make sure we build a strong partnership to keep people from walking out the door with all their merchandise, unfortunately.
Yes. Well, thank you for that very much. We appreciate you. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome. We will now move forward with our agenda to ABRA licensing. First up, we have JJS LLC doing business as Free State at 501 G Street Northwest. This is an ABRA streetery endorsement. And is Mr. Leonard on? Okay. I don't hear anybody. So we will just move forward there to the Bazaar by Jose Andres, 1100 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, a new retailer's Class C restaurant, ABRA 122901. And I see right on the center of my screen.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. This is Manal Mahmood with Malleus O'Brien Sandground on behalf of the applicant. This is a Jose Andres Bazaar concept. It's opening up in the Waldorf Astoria. And there is one correction I wanted to let everyone know, is that the placard did say 28 summer garden seats. There won't be a summer garden. That's going to be completely enclosed within the hotel. So there's no outside presence.
Got it. I was asking about that. I was thinking, like, where is that going to go?
Exactly. No, they realized it's outside of the restaurant itself, but it's still enclosed within the hotel.
Within the hotel. Gotcha. And the hours of operation are?
We asked for a maximum hours, I believe. It's 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. on weekdays and 6 a.m. to 3 a.m. on weekends. I highly doubt they will be open that late. However, I do know that they do want to offer breakfast, so they will be opened on the earlier end.
Got it. And I personally have no challenges with this being within the boundaries of the hotel. It's really an isolated property taking up most of the the block there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Commissioner Nelson, do you have any concerns, questions?
No, no questions for me.
Any community concerns or questions? Go ahead, Nancy.
Thank you. As a power wheelchair user, I'm concerned that that property is not compliant with the ADA. The accessible entrance is locked.
Oh,
On the sidewalk side, you have to somehow magically attract someone's attention in the interior at the top of the stairs to get someone to come unlock the door for you. I don't know where in the property the new restaurant will be. But would I be able to access it without a mother may I situation?
yes, absolutely. And in fact, we'll bring that to the hotel's attention regardless of whether the, before the restaurant even opens. There's no need for you to ask to have that unlocked. So I can contact the hotel tomorrow.
Thank you. I used to live in North DuPont, and I used to go to ANC meetings specifically to press for access as a condition of liquor license.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
Thank you for notifying us of that and even bringing that up. I really, really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Any other concerns? Then I would like to move that we send a letter of support for the bazaar by Jose Andreas.
Second.
All those in favor? So 2 of 2 commissioners voting in favor of that will get a letter off. And do you need stipulated?
No, we won't need a stipulated
Okay.
license, but thank you so much and happy holidays to everyone. And Nancy, again, I'll be sure to contact the hotel tomorrow about that locked door.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, commissioners.
Appreciate
Have
it.
a wonderful evening.
Happy holiday to you too.
Happy holidays.
Moving on, we will move toward planning, zoning, environment, and historic presentation. First up is a recall from our last meeting. This is 600 I Street Northwest from Monument Realty, extension of the application to the I Northwest Development Project. And Jessica, I saw you were on with us. Hi, Jessica.
Good evening. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. We also have Lewis Kelly from Monument Realty is here. Oh, great. I see your camera's on. Hi, Lewis.
Hello.
I'm going to share my screen if that's okay with everyone.
Please. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm Jessica Bloomfield with the law firm of Holland and Knight. We are talking again this evening about the 600 block of I Street. Last time we were here, there were a number of questions and concerns raised that we heard, and we thank you for that. So I'm largely going to turn this over to Lewis to provide some specific feedback on that. I want to remind the ANC that this request is not to extend the BZA approvals, which is, I think, where we lost some connection at the last meeting. Those were actually already extended this year and as supported by the ANC, and those approvals will expire in 2024. We don't anticipate that they will expire because we're on track to continue to move forward. Instead, this is a very technical request, which is to extend the expiration date of a covenant that transferred required residential density to this site. After presenting at the ANC's November meeting, we submitted the application, which provided a very detailed description of why the request was needed and how we met that standard of review, which we had gone over in our presentation last month. Before I hand it over, I will remind the ANC that the Zoning Commission is scheduled to make a decision on this application this Thursday. We were pleased to receive support from the Office of Planning, and they had no conditions or concerns. And we look forward to this evening being able to address any of the outstanding concerns that you all may have. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lewis, and we will move forward with our presentation, which hopefully won't take too long, and then can answer any questions that you still have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. So my name's Lewis Kelly, representing Monument Realty. So we agreed at last month's meeting in November that we'd come back to discuss our request because at the time we hadn't filed our application yet. So you didn't see all of our materials. We also didn't have Office of Planning's report on our request. So since that November meeting, we've provided the application and backup materials to the commissioners, along with a cover letter in which we tried to better clarify our request of the zoning commission, since it's definitely a little technical in nature. And then we subsequently provided the report that we received from Office of Planning, and I'm hopeful that you saw that it was in support of our request with no conditions or objections. Jessica, if you could go to the next slide. So for everyone's benefit, I just want to quickly reiterate what properties we're talking about. So we have a series, excuse me, the next slide. We have a series of properties on I Street going from 610 to 624 I Street, and we're planning to do 149 residential units there, along with some ground floor retail. And there's multiple historic properties that would be preserved and incorporated into the larger project. We've been in front of the ANC with this project multiple times, and we're thankful the ANC has continued to support it along the way. If you could go to the next slide. So the other part of this project, it's across the alley facing H Street. We spent the better part of this past year incorporating some of these parcels on H Street into the overall residential project. H Street was originally going to be developed as an office building, but we've redesigned it for residential, and that's going to be connected to I Street below grade, and it's all going to operate as one residential complex with 221 units in total. This change will allow both portions of the project to move ahead together simultaneously, and the ANC had voted in support of the BZA variance for this change, which we had obtained over the summer. Mm-hmm. So turning back to our request and what we had discussed during the last meeting, and if I understood the concerns that were raised correctly, it didn't feel as though it's necessarily an objection of the mechanism of the CLD transfer and associated escrow, but that the ANC really wants to see this project get built. And I want to let you know that we hear you loud and clear, and we also share that same concern. We want to see this project completed as soon as possible, and we're working to make that happen. As we discussed during the last meeting and summarizing that cover letter that I mentioned, over the past year, we've been doing a good amount to get this project going so that we can start as soon as we have financing back in place. So to just recap, we've switched A Street from office to residential, as I just mentioned, which was a major undertaking. We filed raise and demolition permit applications for the existing buildings on I Street. Those are currently being processed by Department of Buildings. We completed a set of permit drawings for both I Street and H Street, so we have those ready to file. We filed and processed a subdivision application for the residential development site, and that was a prerequisite for us being able to file the building permit. And then we also started pre-development work that's going to be necessary with DC agencies like DC Water to cut off service prior to construction, Verizon and Lumen for their lines that run through the area, those sorts of things. So while there may not be hammers swinging on the site right now, we haven't been sitting around twiddling our thumbs. We're actively working to get this project moving, and I hope based on that explanation, you understand that we are doing that. So to the request, the irony with it is that while you'd like the project to get built as quickly as possible, and as so do we, turning down this extension request actually impedes that effort. That's because this extension request only allows us to release the CLD funds from escrow when the project is 50% complete, and having those funds released helps with financing the project, which allows us to get the project moving. So we've included here a few of the commitments that we would like to make to the ANC, which were included in that cover letter. Most important of which is that we want to do a better job and be more transparent with you regarding this project and the construction timeline. And so we're offering to provide regular updates to the ANC on the project so that you can stay apprised to where things stand moving forward. And I think this will be especially useful since there'll be some new commissioners starting in January. So this will hopefully keep everyone up to speed on the project. So I just want to make sure that we heard your concerns last month. I hope what I've said tonight, shows that we're trying to address them. But I'd also like to make it clear that we're not looking to push the timeline on this project out any further than what the BZA extension that the ANC approved earlier this year allows for, and we're really just looking for your assistance with this very technical matter, and your assistance ultimately will make it easier to get this project going. So with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification, and thanks for the additional materials that you have provided to us. I do appreciate that. Commissioner Nelson, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I would like to say thank you to Lewis. We appreciate that you understood our concern. We were not necessarily hung up on the technicality of extending a BZA approval versus, extending the expiration date of a covenant. The mechanics of that were not really what we were looking at. As you pointed out, rightly, we're concerned about the length of time that it's taken and, when this is going to be completed. So I appreciate you understanding our concerns on that. Thank you.
Are there any community questions or concerns? With that, I would like to move that we send a letter of support for the extension of the covenant for this project.
I would second that.
Okay, and all those in favor? So 2 of 2 commissioners voting in favor of that. We will get that letter off prior to Thursday so that it is there at the BZA for the hearing. So we do appreciate that, and we appreciate your updating the commission about this project.
Commissioner Schenkel, would it be helpful for us to send you a draft letter given the short time frame?
I would love that. That would be most appreciative doing that.
It'll be in your inbox this evening. Thanks so much.
You got it. Thank you so much. Next on our agenda is 616 East Street Northwest and 631 D Street Northwest, Penn Quarter Controlling Entity Solar Canopy Variance. And we have Mark with us. I believe I saw Mark.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having us tonight. I'm Mark Line. I'm the president of the Clara Barton, which is at 616 East Street, and also the Penn Quarter Controlling Entity, which is the association of associations that is responsible for our basically our half block. We're an association that has 5 different members. We have the Woolly Mammoth Theater, the parking garage, the street level retail, and also our neighbors at the Lafayette, including Commissioner Nelson. So happy to be able to present to you today. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Please, please. Thank you.
We are seeking a letter of support. We are in the process of selecting a contractor and moving forward with bidding out the work, which will ultimately result in applications for permits to add solar to our building. We had waited for the Inflation Reduction Act, hopeful that it would provide some ability to assist us with the financing, but as a condo association, we do not qualify under the things that were provided there. But still, the economics of this make a lot of sense, and also the environmental impact is very important to us. Adding solar to our building, which you'll see in the screenshot that I have here, our building is basically the left side of this block between E and D at the side on the 7th Street side. We have the ability with adding solar to basically cut our peak load of electrical usage, which is our midday, most expensive, most significant power usage, almost in half, and dramatically reduce the cost of operating the building, while also avoiding buying external electricity. We'll be able to generate it on site. One way to do that is using a currently unused portion of our rooftop, which is a walkway area. It is currently closed off for access and is used for accessing mechanical spaces to place solar panels. If we strictly follow the rules regarding where intrusions can exist on our rooftop space, it would require that the solar panels be installed at a rather severe angle and only allow for one row of panels the entire length of the area. Versus, this is sort of an overview of where panels would go. They would start with where our elevator penthouse is, go all the way down to where our second elevator penthouse ends on the D Street side. And then the D Street roof is also currently occupied almost entirely with mechanical equipment. And so we would put solar panels on the D Street side, but they would be below the roof line. Currently, the north side of the building on the East Street side is where our amenity spaces are. So those areas would not be suitable for solar coverage. What we're looking to do is seek a variance. We are in the process of putting the sort of the full bid package together so that we can find the contractor and then move forward. But as part of that, we would want to have the canopy over the walkway area elevated, where it would be at a less severe angle. It would then serve as a rooftop space. It would allow that canopy area to potentially be used for a future use. So here I have badly photoshopped in a dog park. That doesn't currently exist. The existing conditions are shown here, just a concrete walkway and some bricks. But by adding in a canopy style, we would have 3 panels every place that we would have 1 panel in the existing design. It would increase our capacity from, I believe, 150 kilowatts to 175 kilowatts. So it increases the generation capacity of our facility, and it also preserves this space for future use, such that it could be used, for a dog park or something else in the future. And similar, where we had just 1 row of panels along this walkway, we now have 3 in a horizontal orientation, basically level with the this high penthouse roof. This is the mechanical penthouse on the left. Mm-hmm. And so the panels would essentially be level with that, with a slight angle to allow drainage, and then some columns be placed along the side here. Mm-hmm. This entire area is facing an alley. It does not face the street. It's not really visible from the street. And it is really just a shared space that we allow for access to the parking garages and to the loading docks there. It would not obstruct views from other buildings looking towards really anything, because this wall already exists. And so this is a rendering of essentially what we want to do with the panels. There's that wall that I mentioned of the mechanical space, and then the panels would essentially be horizontal, running along the length of it, and then we would build small columns to support it up. So, certainly invite any questions and concerns, and we're hoping to make the city a little bit greener, and also kind of assist our association in reducing costs to our residents and business owners.
I really love the fact that you are tapping this really untapped energy source for your building, which I think is fantastic. So these panels, unlike that first picture you showed us, lie flat. They're not angled up, and will they create a glare at all?
They should not. They'll be the black panels, I believe, is what we have sort of looked at this point. Yeah. And for this type of canopy, they actually make a bifacial panel that is able to get sun from the bottom as well. So sun that bounces off the walkway below would also help add to the power. Those are a little bit more transparent, and they help knock down the glare as well.
Oh, got it. Because I was initially concerned about, I know you have some, I believe there's some development happening on the northwest.
Exactly. So this building that's marked as 600E. Yes. So kind of in this corner. My understanding is that they are looking to potentially convert that building to residential if they can find a feasible way to do it with the way that it was set up mechanically. Yeah. Their building is no taller than ours, so it really, any units along that area would be facing the alley and looking straight into our windows as well. I look into the alley, so.
Got it. Got it. That's great. And would you consider, are you considering, like you mentioned, that second version with the, I guess, the solar panels on the bottom as well? Are you considering that?
Yes.
Or you are considering that. Okay.
It is. So the panels on the bottom would still remain. This is a big part of our base load, but with the way that this southern portion is designed, the panels would be lower than the rooftop. They don't have to be up as high because there's no need to walk under them.
Yeah, this is great. This is great. So you're asking for a variance to prevent you from having that setback along the edge.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that is exactly it.
Gotcha. And Commissioner Nelson, do you have any questions?
I don't. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Michael is right. This is really exciting. So I was really glad when you wanted to come to this ANC meeting and discuss it. So yeah, no, I don't have any questions. I think it'd be a great addition.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And a dog park. I didn't notice it was really bad Photoshop. I was like, oh, I was so focused on that there was a dog park on top. I totally lost the Photoshop until you just told me.
Yeah, my grand vision for the roof is that we would be able to let our residents that have dogs be able to go up on the roof as opposed to the street, which is a little bit problematic. And then also we have a sort of a disused kitchen on the roof. And we could renovate that such that there'd be a space to wash your dog and kind of treat our four-legged friends a little nicely.
Right. It looks like I'm moving. Anyway, right into this building. Anyway, any community concerns or comments? I believe you are. I could be wrong about this, but I think this is the first solar panel project on a residential building that we have had downtown.
It is an unusual process. So many of the agencies that we've spoken with, this is something that's new to them, and we're sort of navigating what needs to happen and all of that. So we actually have brought in an expert from another state. He's near Boston and has done a lot of other properties. And we're kind of leaning on his expertise about how best to do this in a downtown area.
That's great. That's great. Well, I would like, so are you, so let me ask this. Are you looking for, you're looking for a letter of support? Are you looking for that now or as you get closer to your permit, or what?
I believe we'll need it as we get closer to our permit, but we're sort of understanding what the city processes are going to be for this application. And we wanted to stop here before we went further and make certain that there weren't any objections or concerns that we could address in this design stage.
I do not see any concern about this. I think that it's on the alley side of the building. It's in kind of on the internal side that we're talking about here. I don't see any reason that there should be an opposition to this.
I do have one question though, and if you may not know the answer to this, Mark, but assuming everything went smoothly and you got the approvals and everything, how long would it take to actually install this?
So the design phase is essentially done. We have a few tweaks that need to happen. We expect that bidding would take about 60 days to get approvals, and then we would hopefully have the installation done within 4 to 5 months.
Okay.
Oh, wow. This is
so about half a year.
Fast. Yeah. When are you considering doing your permitting?
We're planning to get started on that in the new year, so early January.
Oh, okay. Okay. In that case, I would like to move that we send a letter of support for the 616E Street, 631D Street, Penn Quarter Controlling Entity Solar Canopy Variance Project.
Second.
A mouthful. Yes.
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
And Commissioner Nelson?
I said second.
You said second, and all those in favor? So 2 of 2 voting in favor of that. So we'll send you off a letter. Once you file I'll send you off the copy of the letter once you file the permits and you get your you get your filing number, let me know, and I can add that to the letter as well.
Excellent. Thank you both so much. Have a wonderful night, everyone.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
And next on our list is 1425 New York Avenue Northwest. Request for modification of consequence of plans approved. And I see we have Shane on here this evening. Is Shane on? No, Shane is not on. Oh, Shane is on. There he is. I thought I saw you a minute ago on there. So there you are. How are you?
I'm doing great. How is everyone?
Very well, thank you.
Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to present this application to you, and I'll be brief. I wanted to note just before I just generally describe the application, I have Sarah Brandt-Worrell with ownership of the property and the developer that's will be undertaking this conversion project. It's the property at 1425 New York Avenue Northwest. It's an existing office building that was approved in June of this year by the BZA for some very minor zoning relief to facilitate the conversion of the building to a residential use. As currently approved by the board, the conversion would entail about 255 residential units, a modest amount of commercial space at the ground floor and the second floor, as well as a small amount of penthouse amenity space. The relief that the board granted back in June, again, was just for a special exception for penthouse setback along a court near the alley, as well as a special exception to allow penthouse habitable space in the area that's around the White House. I'd like to, if it's okay, I'd like to share my screen. I have a couple images that I can show. And so this first image again is just showing the location of the property. It's an interior lot, and again, it's an existing office building that's got frontage on New York Avenue and H Street. This is looking at the H Street frontage as it currently exists, and the other image here is showing the H Street frontage. And so, as I mentioned, as currently approved by the board, it's a conversion project, about 255 units. The ground floor, this is an image from the previously approved plans, showing the ground floor with just some amenity space, lobby space, as well as some commercial leasable space down here on H Street. Actually, at this point, this is it's below grade space because the the frontage on New York Avenue is a level lower than on H. So this was, as approved, commercial leasable space below grade, so not great space. And then this is just showing the typical floor plan, just showing a configuration of residential units. What's being proposed is a modification of consequence, and so this is a type of application that does not require a hearing from the BZA, just for some minor changes to the approved plans. As the developer has kind of progressed their development plans, they're also keeping a close look on the significant changes, as we all know, is occurring in the residential market and certainly the real estate financing market. Interest rates are going up in the market, and as a result, the residential market is starting to slow down. It's also a really challenging site to pull off a residential conversion. As a matter of fact, this type of site, being an internal lot with no side openings whatsoever, it just has frontage on New York and H Street. In a 2001 Office of Planning study on conversions of office to residential, this was identified as a building topology that was the most resistant to conversions, and it gave it some weird nickname called a blinker. I don't know why it's called a blinker, but this was so given the slowdown in the market and the challenges that are in the financing markets, the developers looking at this and trying to think about, well, the potential loss in marketability of these potential units, with units that are newer units, luxury units that are still coming online in a down market. And so they're trying to reevaluate how they can keep this project moving forward. And what they're proposing to do is a couple things. Most notably is what they'd like to do on just floors 2 through 4. They'd like to have the flexibility to be able to do residential dwelling units or lodging. And again, that's just on floors 2 through 4. It would just be an option so that as they move further into design development, if they do see that they may have a little bit of challenge marketing the new residential dwelling units in this building, they may move to more of a lodging model just on floors 2 through 4. What they're also proposing is for that commercial space, because as you know, the retail market also continues to have significant challenges. What they'd like to do is the opportunity, have the flexibility to either in that small amount of space that they have approved currently for commercial retail space, they'd like the flexibility to either have commercial retail or building amenity. Again, when the building comes online, if they're having a little bit of challenge filling all or a portion of that commercial space, they'd like to be able to use that space for residential building amenity. And then above the 4th floor, typically the typical floor plan would again just be all residential dwelling units. And so that's in a nutshell what the request is asking of the Board of Zoning Adjustment. We would certainly appreciate the ANC's consideration of the request this evening and hopefully a motion for support.
Thank you so much, Shane. And are you thinking, when you're saying lodging, are you meaning like hotel space?
Well, I think it would be, so under the zoning regulations, in order to be considered residential, it requires a stay of a minimum of 30 days. My understanding, and Sarah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that these would be built out as dwelling units, but they would allow for stays of less than 30 days.
Which would be like an Airbnb. I'm trying to figure out like.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, it's almost it's a similar, almost like a hybrid, right? So we have, there's a newer model, and you might be more familiar when buildings are leasing up. It's almost like a hotel, floor by floor, until the building's fully leased. In this instance, we would, if we proceeded with this more lodging use, would probably partner with someone who operates similar to a hotel. Oftentimes they have corporate partnerships, so people tend to stay anywhere from 3 to 5 days to even a month, but it just gives us that flexibility to build out the space with the same floor plan as our residential units. But if we had trouble leasing or found it to be beneficial, could partner with someone to come in and operate some of those floors similar to a hotel, but just limited to floors 2, 3, and 4.
Got it. And another question that I had was the commercial space that it's kind of below grade. Are there windows in that commercial space, or is it?
So it's funky because, as Shane mentioned, our New York Avenue frontage and our H Street frontage, the ground floor in each is a floor in height difference. So initially approved on H Street, it was the ground floor and then the floor below, which is the first floor on New York Avenue, is all approved as commercial. So it would be kind of tricky to get a tenant who might want 2 floors of space for commercial. So the top at grade on H Street does have windows, but I think it makes more sense to have the flexibility for it to be a building amenity than commercial, given the potential challenge of finding someone leasing both floors.
Got it. And 2 through 4, with having the option of residential or lodging, you would basically be losing like 12 apartments, basically, or 12 residences about.
I think it's about 43 across the 3 floors. So yeah, about 12 to 13 per floor.
Per floor, yeah. Okay, got it. Okay. Got it. And what would why wouldn't somebody approve something like this? What would be the drawback of this? Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, I know I'm asking the wrong person for this feedback.
But my attorney answered, no. I think there could be, there's higher, I think it's more of an internal issue if resident who rented with us wanted to have that level of turnover in the building, right? But I think it's very common to have, condominiums that share buildings with hotels. And I think you're seeing a mixing of uses just to be more competitive and flexible. So, as the property owner and manager, we at Folger Pratt would be very focused on making sure everything, goes smoothly, because our main priority would be the other floors that are our tenants and who are renting from us. So, we have a vested interest in making sure there are no problems or challenges.
Got it. So Commissioner Nelson, do you have any questions?
I don't. I think you asked the ones that I was thinking.
Yeah. And I am a huge proponent of building amenities because I think that's important for our community. As we are converting downtown, I agree with you. Having the flexibility with the commercial space is a great idea. I am not opposed to the addition of lodging for those first or the 2 through 4 of this site. I think that provides you with more flexibility as you get to that point on what are we going to do with these floors. Is there any other questions that folks may have regarding this or concerns? All right. And I think your proximity to, the White House and other places, it's kind of makes a lot of sense for this. With that, and hearing no other objections, I'd like to move that we send a letter of support for the modification of consequence for the floors, I guess, 1 through 4 within the building.
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor? All right, 2 of 2 commissioners voting in favor of that. So we will get a letter off to BZA. Do you have a hearing scheduled? Or there's not a hearing scheduled for this, you said?
That's correct. We're waiting to hear from the Office of Zoning on when the board will place it on one of their meeting calendars, consent calendars. Yeah.
Got it. Perfect. Well, we'll get a letter of support off for you.
Commissioner, would you like me to send you a draft letter? Would that be?
I would love that. I love when people send me draft letters. That makes me very happy. It makes me smile.
I'm just copying my friend Jessica Bloomfield.
Yes.
The response she got when she offered it.
Jessica is always great about sending a letter, sample letter. So that is awesome. I appreciate that.
We'll send that to you shortly.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Is there any other items of business for this evening? If there's no other items, I would just like to really thank Commissioner Nelson for her 2 years of service, her passion for serving as the commissioner of 2C03. I'm going to miss you tremendously in this process, but looking forward to our other commissioners, and we will be certain. I've been telling Commissioner Nelson for 2 years that we're going to meet up for dinner, cocktails, something, but we will do that. But thank you so very much for everything you've done for 2C.
Well, thank you. It was my pleasure.
Awesome. With that, I would like to move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All right, and all those in favor? 2 and 2 voting in favor of that. Terrific. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful holiday, and we will see you in the new year with some new commissioners. Take care, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.